in, everyone, to episode 185 of the HurricaneKaz podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Peng, and this week no one quits. We got Josh, we got Kaz, and we got Tristen.
A wild Tristen has appeared.
We have a wild Tristen. Anyway, how are y'all doing? And Mittens too. Of course.
Mittens also is here. Even if you can't see him, please know that Mittens is almost always on my lap.
On the lap. Yeah,
I mean, it's the Battle Cats podcast, right?
It's true.
Kind of the
True.
We're not the real hosts.
Well, the moment Kaz and Mittens joined, my cats have been real lazy about it. They're like, yeah, you all got this. I'm gonna take this shift off. Steve, I was gonna ask you. So who ended up? I didn't get a chance to watch all of it, but who ended up winning the grassroots?
The GOAT.
Champions.
Yeah.
Who's the GOAT?
Well, look, it's official, guys. Wadaj is the greatest Pokemon Go player of all time. So lock it in.
Okay.
It was
How did Doonbug do with that Starmie?
It was really close in that both Axon and Doonbug were like one battle win away from matching Wadaj. And in the finals, it was Wadaj versus its Axon. And Wadaj needed to get a single battle. Oh, no, Axon needed to get a single battle. Wadaj needed to 3-0 sweep. And the man nailed it. So.
Okay.
Truly.
These are all done live too, right?
No. It was done just before. But
so does that mean those three all beat each other, then they all beat Marto or something? Is that how it
exactly
out?
that. So.
Wait, how did Marto do overall?
Yeah, so Marto lost the matches against all three. It was 2-1, 2-1, and then his match against Axon was pretty disputy, but he was good about it. So he gave it to Axon game one.
I see the regular Marto clips from GBL, and game state doesn't look great. But,
you could say.
He probably also lives a little further from the servers than some of the rest of us. So.
True.
Okay, well that's cool. Let's get into the events because we have a lot to cover.
So many.
But we have a new Rocket Leader Pokemon, which is pretty big because Niantic listened.
Woo!
Niantic listened.
That's not a phrase you hear very often.
It's true.
I think they're always listening. Whether they implement what we're saying is a different story, but they did fully implement it, which is nice. This is definitely very PvP oriented in terms of Rocket Leader, in my opinion. Alolan Grimer, maybe you could argue that that's not as PvP relevant, but it's okay. I mean, it's probably more useful than PvE.
You're arguing against that to Steve of all people?
Hey.
Yes, that's correct.
Only man to ever top 6 with the Shadow Alolan mark.
Hey, look, that's you do you, man. There was a Shadow Mawile that won a regional. You don't see people hyping that up, right? So,
I will say though, the Alolan Grimer and Muck, they constantly have a degree of usefulness in grassroots cups whenever they're allowed. So I mean, I would still say this is a pretty useful one to nab if you don't have one already.
Definitely, and I mean, I think it's in a sense, it's at least. Again, it's still more PvP relevant than PvE relevant, right? So it's definitely still catered towards
Kaz, I think you mean if you don't have 2 already, right?
That's true. You do need many movesets.
I don't know what Kaz.
No, I meant one for Muck and one for Grimer.
Mine are purified, baby.
Y'all.
No, but I meant one for Muck and one for Grimer, though.
Yeah.
And then we have Shadow Scroopy in Sierra.
It's
what's
nice
his name?
they're bringing that back.
Yeah, Arlo is the one for Alolan Grimer, and then Cubone, Shadow Cubone, back with Cliff.
The Kanto Cubone.
Yeah, well, there's no Alolan Cubone, right?
Oh yeah,
the only Cubone. The only Cubone.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
It's not usual that Caleb Peng knows a little more than
anyone.
Pokeologist HurricaneKaz.
Than anyone.
Today Caleb did not learn.
Turn a new leaf in 2025. That's all I'm saying. The best part is all three of these could be shiny as well. Or maybe that's not the best part. The best part is that they're back in rotation. And I know that these are, you have to grind to the Rocket Radar to use these, but at least they're guaranteed, right? You don't have to just mix around and be like, oh, we're looking for the ground rocket, which is hard to find sometimes. And then half the time it's like a freaking Dom fan or something,
If there is a shadow that you want, it's preferable to have it in the leaders.
Right. Yeah, I would argue it's actually easier to hunt them when they're in the leaders, because yeah, like you said, like if Cubone was in like a regular ground grunt, you'd have to go around looking for the ground grunts, which might be like 1 in 10 or something, and then the ground grunt might have like 4 or 5 different possible encounters. So then you have to hope that you roll the Cubone out of like usually it's like 3 to 5 different things. So like there's a
But
lot
thank
more
goodness.
just RNG. So
Yes.
this
But
way,
thank
it's a
goodness
lot
this is
easier to
not the
actually
case.
hunt them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
By the
So,
way,
I'm actually happy
everyone
they're in
should
the leaders. I think
probably go. There's probably a little bit of hoarding to do on this one, in that you should probably get ready to, just in case they sort of bring it back in the future, be ready to evolve like a Shadow, a Alolan Marowak,
Yep.
one for Little Cup, one for Great League.
100%.
So keep that in mind
100%.
as well as you sort of.
The
go
little
in.
cups, yes.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't run
if you
Caleb
don't
Peng's
have
Little Cup
already,
team if you
right?
don't have
Like
that
I know,
Shadow AWAC.
I mean, if you don't have it already, right? I think some people don't have the regular Shadow Marowak because they evolved all their Shadow Cubones in the past. So
Yeah.
you never know. And then the other thing with this that I'll mention is that if you can try to like sort of rush through the special research to get the Shadow Palkia, because it can be useful in some like limited Great League metas. I think it's generally a side grade or an upgrade over Shadow Kingdra. So again, if you're able to like power through it so that you get it early and like can TM it, that's always good. But if you don't get it in time, honestly, you're probably only throwing Aquatail most of the time, so you can just double move it and run Aquatail of Frustration for a bit.
Sorry for a brief cutoff. We had some technical difficulties, but Tristen has, he's transitioned to radio instead. No more face cam for him. But we think that hopefully this will be better for connective purposes. What we were talking about last time, right before it cut off, we're talking about what's in the new Rocket Grunts, and it looks like Siege Horsea is in the first slot for the female water grunt, as well as Oshawott, so that's good. And unfortunately, no more Totodile. Let me see if Totodile is in.
Totodile is in raids.
It's in raids for sure, yeah, but you can't really get it from good IVs, right? Yeah, and then unfortunately, from the grunt that gives you the starters, it's Snivy, Oshawott, and Tepig, so you can't really get a good Totodile from any other way, unfortunately. But we've had some time for it, right? I guess they had to rotate through them somehow. That being said, yeah.
I'm not
so
sure.
I think out of, Whooper,
the League Duck graphic.
No, Steve just read it wrong, essentially.
Yeah. It's the same graphic. It's just like in a different design.
Yeah. He was reading the columns instead of the rows.
Yeah, and in the Go Hub graphic, it's in columns.
I was just gonna say the League Deck graphic. Yeah, no, I was gonna say the League Deck graphic has these little like mimic icons, which makes me wonder if they think there's a potential third encounter, but they're just not 100%.
Yeah, no.
So they just don't have the info. Yeah, they just didn't have the info yet, but on the Pokemon Go Hub, it has everything. So they might just have been speculating what it could be, but then they now have the full data on Pokemon Go Hub. That's like, yeah. Shadow Snivy is going to be an interesting one for sure, but we talked about that before. Okay. So, but okay, so let's go to our next event too, because anyway, so we have ourselves Dynamax the Legend Birds. This dropped like right after we record our last episode, but that's fine.
Woo!
Well, during, I think.
It was literally while we were recording, because I got the push notification right after we stopped.
We start off with Articuno on the 20th, then 27th is Zapdos, and 3rd is Moltres. Honestly, these aren't like the Galarian variants, so it's not like super particularly useful. But what I will say is that these are definitely good for XLs and stuff if you want to make stuff like that. So yeah, so just keep that in mind. Get the candies if you can, and that's pretty much it. So
how strong?
If you care about like the gigantic,
how strong?
So they're Dynamax, not Gigantamax. So...
Yeah.
Yep.
Should be a lot easier.
I think so, yeah. But like, if they're Dynamax, they're lobbies of 4 instead of like lobbies of like 20 plus, right? So, but I don't know. Like, does that mean you need 4 really good players? Like, that's the thing. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It's a 5-star max battle. Have we had any of those yet?
But yeah, you can.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think this is the first time.
Wait. Was Toxtricity 4-star? What was Toxtricity?
Toxtricity, I think, was like 3-star. You could pretty much solo the Toxtricity pretty easily if it wasn't Gigantamax variants.
Yeah, the regular Dynamax one.
Okay.
But
it also had a double weakness though.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here
it did have a double weakness.
Articuno,
right?
Articuno does.
Versus most
here
of these
Articuno
don't.
is the only one. Yeah, Articuno is the only one with the double weakness, so you have to get your.
Moltres. They're both double weak to rock.
Moltres.
That's true.
Come on, Kaz.
Yeah.
You're the bird person.
Oh my god!
There's no Dynamax.
The bird person.
Listen, I'm trying. I'm catching up.
But there's no Dynamax Pokemon with rock.
This brain taking over. Say again.
There's no Dynamax rock.
There's no Dynamax Pokemon with rock though. Like you can get Rock Slide on Excadrill, but no
you can't
Dynamax rock type moves, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
So that's
effectively,
we don't have a real
the only one that you can have a Dynamax with like the double super effective attack is the Metagross against Articuno. Like, right?
Yeah.
That's not double super effective.
Well, no, it's only single super effective, not double super.
Okay. Damn.
Kaz trying to redeem herself, but it's getting worse by the second.
I'm trying.
It's by the same token you can use fire, I guess.
I'm enjoying this. But okay. So, but anyway, we'll see how hard it is. I think Articuno will be a good gauge to start things off. So go do some if you like. But all right, we have ourselves a Steel Resolved event too. This is definitely a big one because it is going to be the release of Corviknight and
more birds for me.
Yeah, it's a 3-stage evolution. So Rookidee, Corvisquire, and then Corviknight. Corvisquire. Yeah.
They both got that Corvid at the beginning.
Yeah.
What's
Caleb. Rookidee based off of? Huh?
It's a chickadee.
And it's like a rook, right? From like a
yes,
kind of
they're combining.
Yeah.
They're combining like a different kind of corvid with another very common bird across the world, which is the chickadee.
I see.
Anyway,
it's very cute. I'm very excited.
It's steel flying type. It starts on Tuesday the 21st, so next week, until Sunday the 26th, and you can. It says event bonus. You could charge TM to help a Shadow Pokemon forget Charge Attack Frustration, which is interesting. So I guess it's extended, right?
I struggle to accept that as fact.
You don't think it's the case?
I'm worried.
It says on the event bonuses.
It does.
I'm worried that's a copy paste over from the previous event.
I hope it's not, and I hope if it is, they honor it at least, because I know some people sometimes get like a last minute shadow that they just don't have time to TM, or they get it right after the event ends, and it's nice to. Honestly, you should just be a TM frustration all year round, in my opinion. But I don't mind if they extend it by another week.
We did have like back-to-back frustration TM events before though, so it's hard to know for sure. It could be a copy paste, but like we did have like the Rocket event followed by like, was it the Worlds event or something? Where you could also
that's different. I think
like 3 days later or something. So like,
I don't know if the Worlds event counts because that feels very like intentional in having frustration being able to remove during that because it's the Worlds event. Like it's literally about PvP. Whereas the Steeled Resolve one is like obviously it's releasing a PvP Pokemon, but it's not really like a PvP event, especially when it's not like relevant in the sense of like. It's not like we're getting Shadow Corviknight to remove frustration off or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what makes me also, like Steve, kind of strongly suspect that it's a copy-paste error because, like, there's really no logical reason for them to extend it.
Yeah.
Like, there is no new Shadow. There's no change in the Rocket Grunts after they left for the fashion event.
I mean, there was also no logical reason for the holiday event to be black and white, so who knows anymore.
We've talked about this. There was a somewhat logical reason.
Nope, stop there. We're not giving them points, Kaz.
You're right. I should stop. I'm not on my game today.
Anyway, magnetic lures will attract different Pokemon during this event. Rookidee being the main one you probably want to do. And then certain Pokemon will be spawning in the wild. But Rookidee is not one of them. So you have to pretty much use magnetic lures, which is not a good feel-good situation.
Or incubators.
They're also in 2K eggs. The new Pokemon.
I feel like you're better off just dropping magnetic lures. Hopefully they spawn enough because they at least have a greater chance of being good like IVs for PvP, right? But yeah, kind of unfortunate.
True.
There's a
paid
paid.
How many are you gonna get? Like, are you gonna get maybe 2 or 3 per magnetic lure? Like, I'm curious how many you'll actually end up getting.
Yeah, not a huge fan of that.
My hope would be like 3 to 5. My hope would be like you get 3 to 5 Rookidee from one lure, but the reality is probably you will get one.
Yeah. I mean, I think Axon made an interesting comment.
How many spawns do you get per lure?
I don't know. Is it one every 3 minutes or something off a lure?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it's one every 3.
30-minute lure, you get maybe 10, 11 spawns. So, they've named 4 Pokemon on equal weighting in this sentence, and who knows what other Pokemon are in there.
And I'm sure that it will also be a mix of like event spawns as well. Like some of these ones that are already showing up in the wild will, have the possibility of popping up on your lure anyway.
Perhaps, but
we have some feature attacks as well. So I think this is why I think the frustration TM is actually more intentional, because it seems like more of a PvP event in general. So certain attacks. So for example, Machamp, if you evolve a Machoke during this time, will learn the fast attack Cry Chop, which is nice because that's one elite fast team you don't have to use anymore. For Alligator, if you evolve it, Croconaw into it, will get Hydro Cannon. Quagsire will get Aqua Tail. Licky Licky will get Body Slam. Corviknight will get Iron Head, which is interesting because this is just a new release, so it already has an exclusive move.
That's kind of grotty, actually. It's like, hey, I know that this is in 2-kilometer eggs and magnetic lures, but you want to grind this now if you want to get that Iron Head.
To be fair, I think most of you will grind it now, just in case these don't really spawn the wild after the event too. But it is, I don't really like that. It's a new Pokemon. Why give it an exclusive move right off the bat? It's not a community day, It's
also like less than it's like 5 days and a bit that you've got. So
that does make me wonder if, since it is like a 3-stage evolution, and those are very popular community day fodder, if they plan to have a community day for it in the near future where they will re-offer Iron Head.
I don't know, maybe
instead of offering a new move.
I don't know if they'd re-offer or if they would just give a new move so it's double exclusive.
They might have to give a new move. Yeah, they might have to give a new move to incentivize people to play it, because I don't know if they've ever done a new community day like outside classics where they didn't actually learn a new exclusive move. But it could be something just completely like innocuous and random, like a Mega Horn or something, that's not really useful, or like Peck. I don't know. But speaking of Mega Horn, Clodsire, Paladin Whooper will learn Mega Horn if you evolve the Clodsire during this time, which is not super useful, but definitely worth doing. And then there's a gold battle week. So I think this is very PvP oriented in general. Based off of this, so on Tuesday 21st to 26th, so same duration, 4 times Stardust from winning rewards. Max set you could play is up to 100, 20 sets, so 100 battles. Dude, that's a lot of days of that. What, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6 days? 600 battles in 6 days?
Not quite a full week, but that's still a lot of battling.
That's a lot of battles.
We might have our winners and losers of the onesie bit by the end of that. Yeah, we might have our winners and losers of the onesie bit by the end of that week.
No, the one. Wait, when did we say what?
Well, that was
the
just
day that we.
There's no date on it. It's just a set.
It's a race.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a race. Yeah.
By the end of the season, I would presume, though, right? Like.
What do you mean?
Right. Well, you have until the end of season.
Right, but I'm saying like 2 people might hit. But if you hit it last, you lose. So if 2 people hit it by the end of next week, then the third person is losing and wearing the onesie. So that's my point. Like, the bet might be over by the end of this Go Battle Week.
Wait.
Kaz is
Oh.
I think Kaz forgot her coffee this morning.
No, I've had like 3 cups. What do you think is in here?
I don't know. Maybe not just coffee. I'm just kidding.
Not strong enough, apparently.
Yeah, not strong enough. We'll talk more of the. Anyway, Kaz, you just like it's a race to see who could hit like the set elo, right? So I had to hit 3,000. I think you had to hit like
2,600.
2,600,
Oh.
2,600, and then
Okay.
Steve has hit 25.
So
yeah.
whoever hits it last. Okay. See,
Yeah,
I
there's
thought
just
it was like
Last.
different than the veteran bet. Like
It
I
is
just
as long
thought
as
it
we
was-
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
thought it was like as long as you get there by the end of the season.
Okay.
I
I
didn't
think
know
if we
it
set
was
that
like-
bet, then we'd see some higher elos on the target.
Yeah,
I don't think we'd set Caleb has to hit legend by the end of the season. I think that's a bit of a gimme.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's like
so do
it's
some
just
battles.
a race. It's
Do some
Okay.
do some battles for sure. And then the
Kaz
active
is
league we
rethinking
have
her GBL
it's-
strategy now.
for real.
No, listen, it's not for lack of trying. I'm gonna say that again.
So yeah, so it only bleeds into a little bit this current meta rotation, which is Master League and Color Cup, but majority of that duration is Great League, Ultra League, Master League. All those 3. So yeah, that's a pretty big event. We'll talk more about the Corviknight spawn rate and everything, but we gotta finish it off with a Shadow Ho-Oh event. And yeah, so obviously we have Shadow Ho-Oh Raid Day that will be happening this upcoming Sunday, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. A lot of events going on. 5 additional raid passes during the time period, and you can also charge TM to teach Ho-Oh the charge attack Sacred Fire. That's kind of cool. It just says charge TM.
Yeah.
It's an exclusive move though.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the case. Well done, Niantic. If it's not the case,
It's
you need a proofread. But yeah.
And you know what's also really good is for the first time ever, they're going to allow remote raid passes to join into these shadow raids.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's
Incredible.
a big one.
they already have allowed that.
I went from
Oh,
no,
you
They
can't
already have
remote
allowed
shadow.
That. You can do
You
that
can't
right
raid.
now.
What?
no, you can't.
Yeah.
Not into shadow raids.
Yeah, as of like yesterday.
Oh,
Okay.
well, that's
Yeah.
news to us. Oh,
Damn.
so
I gotta try this.
I thought it was just for this event in particular.
I don't know, but anyway, also during this event, too.
It is now. It says trainers for the first time in Pokemon Go, remote raid passes can be used to participate in shadow raids during Fashion Week taken over and Ho-Oh Shadow Raid Day. So yeah, it's kicked in.
So also to note as well, 1 star and 3
There's
three-star
a
shadow raids.
reason I put the tweets before the blog post.
So also relate to the tweets as well. It also said Pokemon caught through 1 star and 3-star shadow raids will have a wider variance of attack, defense, and HP. So if you're raiding Shadow Totodile, definitely might be worth. And then a remote raid limit will also be increased to 20 from Saturday to Sunday. Again,
I went from planning on doing 0 Ho-Oh
Well, and
raids to being like, maybe.
Yeah, Sacred Fire. But
Well, and I think it
were
also
you gonna say,
said
Tristen?
that the Ho-Oh I think it also said the Ho-Oh would have a smaller variance of IVs, which some people are speculating might mean it would have like a floor of like 10, 10, 10, as opposed to I think it used to be like 6 or 8 or something. So people are saying it might be easier to get good IVs after this change on the Ho-Oh at least.
Yeah.
Mm.
but it's only 1 star and 3-star raids, right? So it won't affect Ho.
No. For 1 star and 3-star rates, it says a higher variance, so you're more likely to get low IVs. But it says for Ho-Oh, it's going to have a less variance, which means the floor is higher, so you're more likely to get a hundo. That's my point.
Yes. Okay. So I misunderstood what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes. Yeah, because getting a Hundo Shadow is not always the easiest, but and that's really what you mainly want the Ho for, I guess. So.
Or even a purified hundo if you're missing out on the. Or even a purified hundo if you don't have a hundo.
I'm not missing out on that,
right?
but I
It'll
would
be
love a
easier to get
Shadow
that too.
Hundo. That's right. Okay, well, those are events, and let's head down to Kaz's corner because
we'll see who's on top of their game now.
yeah. Hopefully, your answer is correct, Kaz.
I think Kaz
Watch us all get the right answer. You're like, they're wrong. yeah.
I wrote this question.
It's the roast Kaz episode, man.
How many of the Kanto legendary birds have a double weakness? It's only one, guys.
That's not the question. That's not the question. The thing is, I did plan my question to coincide with they had announced the Lunar New Year event, which is all snakes, which I will talk about later.
We'll talk about it next week, because we're running a little low on time.
But I'm still going to keep it. So the question is, how does Dunsparce create its underground nests? Yes, you can look up a picture.
Nice.
I don't know if that helps anything, but yeah.
But I'll be doing it every week.
You don't know what Dunsparce looks like at this point?
Hey, you never know if you've forgotten something.
You have not been playing enough GBL.
Like, I just realized that's what it looks like with the mouth open, because usually the mouth is down, I don't even see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if I had necessarily put into my head that that's where its mouth was. I never really thought about where Dunsparce's mouth was, to be honest.
See?
So we're learning.
Wait.
And isn't that what Kaz is telling us about?
How does Dunsparce make its nest, you said?
Yes. How does Dunsparce create its underground nest?
I have an answer. Okay.
Okay.
How specific is? How's it created? Interesting.
Yeah, like what part of its body?
However
does it
specific
use?
the Pokedex is.
Yeah. Like, how does it actually?
I'm ready.
That's so weird. Like
you can't just say the action, because
well, yeah, that's all I'm thinking. I
said that it creates underground nests, so you know that it has to dig them up in some way. But how? What is the action that Dunsparce takes?
Yeah, because when you said the question, I was like, okay, there's an obvious answer here. Obviously, it digs. But she didn't ask a question if the answer was
That's
dig.
why I put in, because originally when I was crafting the question, I did not have the underground part, and then I was like, okay, I don't want them to give the obvious answer.
Yeah.
I want them to tell me about Dunsparce specifically.
That's fair enough. Okay, Tristen, have you got an answer?
Nope. Caleb doesn't look like he does, though.
Dude, it's just it's so stupid, because in my mind I was like, I don't know how else I could do it, but I know I'm wrong. I already know I'm wrong when I'm typing this.
I'm so locked in.
It's just okay, so it's one of those SAT questions, right? Where what you think is right and is likely wrong. But the problem is I don't know what else to put. I don't there's nothing else going on in my head that makes sense,
Trust yourself, Caleb. Just put it down.
How are you all so confident in this? It made no sense.
We'll
Wait,
take
hold on. Okay. All right.
Man, if me and Steve are wrong and Caleb's right, I'm gonna be salty now.
I'll be crushed.
All right. I'll just put this.
I'm so far behind on these points.
Okay, does everyone have something ready in
I'm ready. I'm not confident in this at all. Yeah.
All right. 3, 2,
Let's do it.
1, send.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I can live with that.
All right. So everyone pretty much says it drills into the ground with its tail. And you're all right.
Oh my gosh. I literally was going to say it digs with chin spike or something.
See? You got to trust yourself.
Yeah. I didn't trust myself, but I was just all right, that's what I want to put, and it can't be right, so I have to put the opposite, which the opposite of that is the other side of his body. So I was let me just put this freaking drill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yes.
I had this answer before Kaz said what part of its body, and then she's with what part of its body, and it's oh no, everyone's gonna get it.
Because Kaz's rules. If I get a point, I get a point.
Because you have kind of, I think, two main options, right? Its head or its tail. So you have like 50.
I don't know though. I was like looking, it's got like little wings and stuff. I was like,
Not
maybe
its
like flying
wings?
this
Yes,
around.
with the wings.
Could be
With
its
the
wings.
I don't know. It's just like it's like flapping. It's like I'm
Yeah.
just thinking like, what if it's flapping so hard?
Pokedex-
It's like flying into the ground with his head. You know,
The
with its
Pokedex
feathers.
actually specifies that it drills into the ground backwards. Like it's not like it drills the hole and then goes in front ways. It shimmies.
It keeps drilling until there's a hole, right?
Yes, and it creates like a massive underground network, right? So the idea, I think, is like not only this way can it like jump out to, surprise prey, but it can also like confuse its enemies with like multiple pathways.
But that's so interesting because if it's drilling from its bottom side, then once it drills in, it can't like turn around the tunnel. So it has to go back out and then go back in head first.
But
Or
I'm saying
maybe
I
its
don't
head
think
is always poking out,
Yeah, I think its head is like always sort of facing front. Like that's a very like it's not an apex predator, Caleb. So
well, no, because some of the pictures threw me off.
It has very prey-like instincts of like I do not want to get eaten today.
Right. Well, no, some of the pictures threw me off because I saw like a TCG card of the Dunsparce underground, and it's like head is facing upward. So I was just like, oh wait, no, that's how. No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
dipping down. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Confusing myself.
But interestingly, most snakes that do burrow, like they are predators, right? And they do it to so that they can like have the element of surprise against their prey.
Yeah.
Or, some snakes burrow underground to hibernate, or not really hibernate, but like, they're not as active in winter since they're cold-blooded. So they slow down, they go into the ground to rest up, and then they come slithering out in the springtime.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right.
I honestly would not have got that point if I wasn't allowed to look up a picture. The picture was actually key on this one.
Didn't we have like a prediction on when Steve would get his next point? You finally did it.
I'm sure you constantly have predictions rolling around. In your head,
I
Caleb.
forgot what we said, but I think Steve has at least superseded our expectations. So the score is Steve 4, myself 6, Tristen at 8, doubling Steve's points.
Hey, last week it was more than doubling, so I'm catching up.
That's true. That's fair.
True.
That's fair. Well said.
Now the next prediction has to be
great
when
job,
Steve will
everyone.
get a point and no one else will.
When Steve will actually win Kaz's corner.
We need to run this for a while.
Let's take a look at Go Battle League. I think they have fixed the exploit with the Jukabuka and the costume stuff. And again, if anyone's friends with Jukabuka, definitely let us know if that account's still around. I'm really curious because I don't think Niantic would tweet out, "Oh, we have banned this person," But I am genuinely curious if they went that route or what. What's everyone's elo at the moment?
I tanked yesterday. I was in 2200s the day before, and then I just lost set after set straight. Like the meta clearly changed, and I refused to change my team.
It changes. It changes day by day because I've had literally great success with using one team for all of my sets one day, and then the next day nothing. Absolutely does not work at all.
Yeah. And part of that, I think Color Cup is extra prone to that because as soon as you move towards,
I mean, it makes sense. It's like a water, fire, grass meta, right? It can be pretty RPS for sure.
Yeah.
And it is.
I have managed to stay in the 2200s, but I just am not going anywhere. Sometimes I'll crash and then I'll be able to climb back up and then I'll just crash again.
Oh dude, I'm
similar story.
I haven't moved much at all. I'm at 2445, so
and Caleb, I saw your video on YouTube and I tried using the Morpeko, and I tried using your team today.
How was
it?
And
it was almost 50% gains and then losses. Exactly. I did a 4 I did a 4-1 and then a 1-4 and then a 4-1 and then a 1-4.
Dude, the Morpeko in the right position though, that thing is deadly.
It's true. You do have to like you say in the video, it's you do have to just understand. I think timing is integral to making that Pokemon work, because literally there were so many matches I was able to win today because Incinerate is a 5-turn move, but Thundershock is a 2-turn move.
The heck out of it, and they're always shielding too. So get bait straight Psychic Fangs half the time. It'd be okay.
So but if you don't do it, if you don't get your timing exactly right, then it's super difficult. Because there was definitely matches that I knew afterwards. I was oh, if I had timed that better, I would have won.
Yeah.
So it makes a huge difference. Just if you're thinking about it for the following color cup week.
Yeah. Someone in my YouTube comments called it cringe rat. What's even more cringe is when people say it's all skill based Pokemon.
Okay,
Like, no, it's
hang
the
on.
most cracked moveset in the game, plain and simple. What do you mean? It's so frail. I mean, this is not like our YouTube comments, my YouTube comments, but I just think it's funny.
This is such a, because obviously you used to get a lot of flack because people would say that Bastion is no skill, but saying that Morpeko is no skill is much less accurate.
Oh my god, it's so much skill. Like literally, if
What
you
should
don't,
what should I say to this
Morpeko's
person?
so squishy. Like, that's a high skill Pokemon.
Dude, maybe I should tell him like, oh, you should just use the cringe rat then, and you'll hit legend tomorrow.
I would be responding with, oh, should I try Bastion instead?
I didn't think it through because this person's already salty, and I'm about to.
I mean,
up their sodium
Bastion
even
and
more.
Color Cup would probably be pretty busted.
Is it even allowed?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably why.
No, that's my
Yeah.
point.
But I also
yeah.
I also found today a lot, like for whatever reason, a lot more people decided to bring Poliwrath today. So that was kind of unfortunate. I ended up swapping out the Shiftry in your team for another grass type that was a little
which
bit
one?
better.
Credilli?
Victory Bell.
I did try Victory Bell
Tropics.
with Magical Leaf and Sludge Bomb instead of like Acid
See,
Spray.
this is why people assume I created Grasso, right? Because people like you just, they deviate from my team, and then all of a
No,
sudden
I
I'm
used it
responsible.
one set, and then I realized, even though this didn't happen, I was like, oh, if I run into a Alolan Marowak, like this could go very badly.
Oh, yeah.
So like I used it for one set, and then I was like, I gotta swap it out. So I tried Decidueye for a little bit, and then I think I used Credilli for a little bit. So like I don't know,
Yeah.
other grasses that can have play into
Credilli's-
other grasses, I think are good.
Credilli's definitely a strong safe swap too, in my opinion. So I think that's a
Yeah,
solid one.
because even against since it's
Caleb,
a
you
little
did
more
create
bulky,
Grass Hole. Steel double grass. That's Grass Hole.
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
Yeah, especially since Credilli is not like as squishy as some other grasses. Like it doesn't hate the Poliwrath matchup as much.
Yeah,
and
it's just
should
rough
at
if you
least-
lead into it, right? Because you got
Yeah.
the Morpeko in the lead too. I haven't
Yeah, you
seen any
can't-
Poliwrath leads actually. Now think about it, because
If there's a Poliwrath lead, you'd have to stay in with Morpeko and try and get as many shields as possible. That's like the only way.
it's like tricky because they likely have counters for jump off in the back, and if they do, then they probably have counters for shift in the back. So
Yeah.
you're like a core broken in this situation, but who knows?
Yeah.
I started playing some Master League though, and if you have the Pokemon, could be good. I was running triple fairies. I was running Waterfall, Premium Arena,
Of course.
Zacian, and Xerneas, and I'm like 5 HP left in end, no shields. Right? I have only Xerneas left, and I'm like, I haven't seen their third Pokemon. I was like, I lose this, and then like so many times it's just straight up a Yveltal or Palkia, and I still win. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I just
Crazy.
feel like fairies are just unmatched in Master League. Like
They're strong,
honestly,
but all
they're-
the dust mains are really annoying though, because
that's true.
and a lot of them have been running Iron Head, which is even more annoying because the pacing's way faster than Sun Steel Strike. But makes sense though. Makes sense. Anyway,
Does.
give that team a try if you'd like, if you have the proper resources for it. That being said, let's head over to Professor Tristen. I think we're gonna discuss a question that was asked in our previous YouTube comments, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was Artemis Dragon had several like Professor.
Do you guys
Tristan
remember
themed
which
comments.
episode that was? So I can.
It was a
find
special holiday episode. I could just ask it for you, I
Do you
think.
guys remember which episode?
Yeah. So here, I'll read it for you.
I'll pull it.
So-
Up. It'll be easier for me to like.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, Artemis Dragon says, do you think we'll see a rebalance to grass moves next season? What would that look like? Wants grass moves to be more snappy, unique grass types like Credilli and Ferrothorn to be household names, and then also
Okay.
asking about
I
if
see. Okay.
and then another question was, what's the
So,
purpose of giving
I
rollouts to
will,
only
first
Pokemon
of
who
all,
share
I'm gonna
weakness fighting?
say. Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, I want to just add that grass has some of the best charge moves in the game. Like Leaf Blade is like a straight up busted move. Frenzy Plant's also very good. Sort
Leaf
of to account
Tornado.
for the fact that grass is not one. Oh, I hate Leaf Tornado.
I was
I'm
waiting
curious
for
what
that.
they
It's
mean
hard
by
though.
I'm curious what they mean by snappy. Like, what does it mean to be a snappy move? I'd love to know what they're wanting from that.
I don't. Yeah. They both happen to be
But
snappier Pokemon. Like Cordelia's kind of like a Venus flytrap, and a Frostthorn, I don't know, it just looks like a lawnmower that's going to snap your legs off if it rolls over you. So maybe that's, I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, grass has some of the best moves in the game, and some of the other grass moves you can't necessarily buff very much. Like grass knot is on like Cresselia, for example, so you probably can't really buff that very much. Power whip is on Licky Tongue, so like even though Licky Tongue's not very good right now, if you buff Power Whip too much, that's a Licky Tongue buff. So it's like I don't know if you can necessarily buff grass moves themselves. Like you could probably do like a slight buff to like Energy Ball, probably wouldn't break anything, but you also don't want to make Jump Bluff too much better than it already is.
Yeah.
And like maybe you could buff some grass fast moves. Like I think Leafage and Magical Leaf are both like not used very much, so like maybe you could buff those, but at the same time I think you need to be very careful when buffing grass types, because I feel like I've mentioned this before, but grass is one of the most polarizing types in the game, because both offensively
Super
and
RPS.
defensively there's a lot of super like super like RPS matchups. Like I think grass is the type that is resisted by the most other types, and it also has quite a few weaknesses, and there's a lot of matchups it has that are like 2 levels of effectiveness difference. So like grass is super effective against water and resists water. Same with against ground. And then grass is weak to flying and resisted by flying. Same with poison, same with bug. So there's so many matchups involving grass types with that like 2 levels of effectiveness difference that it makes grass like even more polarizing. So like I think when you're looking at grasses, you need to be, I don't think like blanket grass bans or buffs across the board is a smart idea. I think you need to really focus in on like maybe like 1 or 2 specific grass types, and you probably, and also the answer probably isn't to buff their grass moves. I think the answer is to look at what other charged moves they have and either buff their coverage move or give them a new coverage move, because the coverage moves is what can help make grass types a little bit less polarizing in some of their bad matchups. I do think that Cradilly would be a good one to buff though, because Cradilly has, as long as you're in a meta with low to no steel types, which is what we currently have. Granted, Corviknight might come in and mess that up, but Cradilly has both an offensive and defensive typing that mitigate a lot of the RPS problems that most other grass types present. Because Cradilly is only taking neutral from water and ground types. So those are not as hard wins as other grasses would be because of that rock typing. And the rock typing also gets rid of its weaknesses to fire and flying and poison. And then rock is a very good offensive coverage combo to go with grass, because it can hit a lot of the grass resistances for neutral or super effective. It's super effective into fire, it's super effective into bug and flying. It also hits the grass's weakness of ice for super effective. And then most of the other things that resist it, it's hitting for neutral. Like it hits dragon for neutral, it hits poison for neutral, stuff like that. So besides steel types, which resist both grass and rock, that grass rock coverage is actually really strong, which is why you see Cradilly be quite strong in a lot of limited formats. And so I think Cradilly could be a very good candidate for a buff. I think a good option could be to buff Rock Tomb by decreasing the energy and increasing the damage, and then give Cradilly Rock Tomb. And I think that would make Cradilly pretty solid at that point, and it could go from being more of a limited meta pick to having more play in open. And again, like the Corviknight matchup wouldn't be great, and like there'd still probably be some Alolan Sandslash, but at least both of those steel types take neutral from rock, so it would have a little bit more play than against other steel types. and would be better than most other grasses are into those as well.
I mean, if you super buff Rock Tomb, you're going to super buff Fortress, right?
So,
all of a sudden, it's actually going to be pretty usable.
Fortress kind of reminds me of Claydol in a way.
It would definitely be...
yeah, there's a lot. It gets a lot of moves, but
actually,
I mean,
it would be a Claydol buff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortress is just awkward because of the moves it has. Like, I don't think you would necessarily want to run like Mirror Shot Rock Tomb. That'd be kind of a weird set. So like you'd probably still run like Rock Tomb Earthquake, and like that's still going to be a little slow. Like, I'm not saying you Pokemon. Like drop the energy substantially, but it's like I think Rock Tomb is like 60 energy right now, so bring it down to like 50 energy and bump up the damage by like just a little bit, like 5 or 10. So like it would be a buff for sure, and like I think Fortress would see more play, but it's still just sort of a little bit awkward a lot of the time. Yeah, I think Claydol would actually, ironically, probably benefit more than Fortress would. And then like you'd also probably, I don't think it'd be the biggest jump, but you'd see some niche play for Spiritomb, I think, as well, with like Sucker Punch, Rock Tomb, Shadow Ball.
Yeah.
But I think Cradilly would probably be the biggest benefactor, followed by probably Claydol. And then, so yeah, that's sort of my take on that. I will say I'm personally not a fan of trying to buff Ferrothorn too much, because it just has like a lot of resistances, and I just don't think it's the healthiest Pokemon, because it drops some of the grass weaknesses because of that steel typing, but then it picks up a double weakness to fire, and like it resists a lot of, or it resists or takes neutral from a lot of the coverage moves that grasses throw at other grasses, as well as what waters throw at grasses. So like it's only taking neutral from ice, so it's going to dominate waters a lot harder because it resists water and only takes neutral from ice, for example. And like it's only taking neutral from bug and resists poison and stuff. So I just don't love that typing. And again, you have to be conscious too of like what you're trying to bring up together. So like if your goal is to make Cradilly good, then you definitely don't want to buff Ferrothorn, because Ferrothorn just like totally hard walls Cradilly as well. So like you just have to be very mindful of that, and just think of like what other Pokemon you're wanting to see. And I just feel like Ferrothorn's typing is just very negative for a lot of the other Pokemon that I think would be like current and potential buff candidates that I think would be fun to see. Like I think people would enjoy seeing, some like things that are a little more spice picks have their chance to shine. Like I think people like Bibarel. I think people think it would be fun to see like Starmie pop off here and there, and it's like Ferrothorn is just like kind of crushing those with its resistances. And even some of the other Pokemon I've mentioned in previous Professor Tristen. So like Ferrothorn is just not one personally. I just wouldn't really want to see that one buff too much, because I just don't think it has the healthiest typing. But I do really want to see Cradilly have its chance to shine, because like I said, I think that has a much healthier typing that would make it more dynamic and less polarizing than a lot of the other grasses. And then on the rollout question, I don't necessarily think that was like intentional that all the rollout Pokemon are weak to fighting. I think that was just like sort of a weird coincidence, where I think like a lot of normal types end up needing like a non-stab fast move. And so a lot of normal types were good candidates for rollout. And it's definitely something they could look at expanding what can learn it in the future. Again, I don't know if Doniphan Scolipede would be that great and open, but could probably see play with it in some limited formats. And I do think there are some other I'd have to look at the whole list, but I do think there are some other good non-normal types that learn it. Obviously, there's some of these are still weak to fighting, but like something like a Glalie learning rollout could be fun. I've also heard, I don't know how I feel about it, but like I've heard some people wanting to see like rollout Whaleren, for example, or even like a rollout Spheal for Little Cup. So um, again, those would be weak to fighting, but it would be a little bit of a different blend just because they wouldn't be normal types at least. So I think there is definitely a much like more potential just distribution for the move going forward. And so it could be interesting to maybe see Niantic add it to a couple things every season. Maybe I think there's a decent number of Pokemon that can learn it. And like you said, like maybe Donphan and Scolipede could be interesting. They're not going to be like open Great League staples, but they could have their time to shine in some limited formats potentially. So definitely an interesting question.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see how it goes too. I mean, I don't think still a couple months before our next update, so we'll see if our fellow Niantic listeners are taking note from Professor Tristan's class. We don't have any grassroots or championship series stuff to talk about. I think we kind of discussed the Corviknight, T thing a little bit already too. So it just feels a little grimy that you had to drop the what do you call it?
The magnetic lore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Don't really know what Niantic's headset.
Well, I think the big thing. I think the big thing with Corviknight 2 is like it was like a Route 1 Pokemon and it's in Galar. So it's like the Pidgey, Hoot, Tailo.
Yeah, that's even weirder.
I think
Route 1
equivalent. Or even like a or like a Starly or something, right? And like all of those when they were released were just like not only were they wild spawns, but they were wild spawns like everywhere. And like they had a lot of and like even since their like release event like have just been like very common. So like I think a lot of people like it just feels like extra grimy that they're taking like this Route 1 Pokemon that in the main series games is literally everywhere, and all the other gens in Go has been literally everywhere, but because they see that it has PvP potential and the PvP player base is excited for it, it feels like they're locking it behind paywalls, which just like sort of feels like extra grimy and like just feels bad.
Well,
especially because like on top of that, I think there's been a lot of go on, Kaz.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I feel like there's also been a pattern of them kind of locking new Pokemon behind research or raids or eggs or something, so that it just increases the difficulty to get like the new thing that everyone is excited for and everyone wants, and sometimes people do have difficulty doing these extra activities to access a Pokemon. So the fact that they've been doing that for, I feel like the past few events in a row is starting to get really tiresome.
I think like I kind of get where Niantic is coming from in the sense that they're running out of content. Like there's only so many Pokemon left that haven't been released. So if they make it so widely released, it is really hard to like continue making content, right? And maybe even from a revenue perspective, they might be struggling a little bit. Again, like just freaking, you should have just brought back remote raids, like you should have just never taken away. Like if revenue was ever a concern, right? Like I know I say that every time, but like just like I feel like I just need to keep saying it because like it's just the most obvious thing that pissed off too many people and so many people quit because of it. And I get that doesn't align with maybe their vision, values or whatever. But at the end of the day, your visions and values don't matter if the company fails, right? And you run out of revenue, at the end of the day, like like, I don't want that to be the case, but like, if that ends up being the case, it's been a nice run, for almost 10 years at that point. Right. But it's just like, you don't like, obviously we don't want that. Right. And like, again, just because it's your vision, values and stuff, those things can change. the when you released this game in 2016, you had your own visions, values, and whatever. But that obviously, like, so much has happened in the game that's changed. So much has happened in the world that has changed that, And I just like, obviously, like, the people, even the people from Niantic listen to this, I feel like are not the people that can make these decisions. So I feel like I'm kind of screaming into the void for no reason, or maybe even preaching to choir. Maybe even some of the people that listen to this from Niantic feel the same way. But it's just like, dude, like, just.
Yeah,
I want to help save your company, and like make this like the game it could be. And I feel like they just like
I
shoot
feel
themselves in the foot, right?
Yeah,
In so many ways.
I feel like you make a really, really good point when you say, like, your values don't matter if the company fails. It's like,
yeah,
it just seems like it's so obvious, which is why it makes it extra frustrating that they kind of keep, gatekeeping these things. And it's like, we want to play this game. Like, we want more ways to like interact with this game, and by limiting that in hopes that you'll create different patterns for everyone, like, that's a fool's dream.
Definitely. I mean, and I know they always say like, Pokemon Go's a forever game, right? But it's just like, it's you're not taking the steps to make it a forever game. You're making steps to like, sometimes they are, right? I don't want to say there never are, but like, it's just they're making steps to make it like, if you want it to be a forever game, you should cater to your audience. Like, there's a reason why feedback is important too. Like, it's just like, if I ran a grocery store and I just brought in all these random, like, I just had like a whole durian section that no one really likes for a few people, right? And I keep expanding this durian section, people don't like it, they're not going to come to the freaking store. Like, it's like, you have to cater to your consumers if you want the game to be a forever
and those durians
game.
cost money.
I mean, dude, durians are a superfood, right? I get it. They just smell really bad. They don't taste great for me. I know some people love it, and no hate on durian, but it's just like, I think it is a turn off for a lot of people in the world. It's maybe acquired taste for some, or just maybe a taste bud thing. Again, it's a great food, right? But like, that's just not a good strategy to like go down this route that like only like a small minority people and people within the company and higher leadership wants. Like, it's just. How do you like, that's not how you make it a forever game.
Make the game that the players want, not the game that the But also, I've seen some people saying too that like one of Niantic's other goals is all about like, exploration and getting people out, and it's like, I don't really feel like if Rookidee was a wild spawn, I would be out and exploring and walking around and probably meeting up with people to like go
instead
out
they want you to sit at a lure.
Like, they
want you to sit.
Yeah, instead
they want you to walk to the nearest Pokestop, and hopefully that's not too far from you, and you just sit there for 30 minutes.
I got news for you, Niantic. There's one right outside.
It's right on top of me, man. I'm just sitting on the couch exploring my apartment.
If you're Caleb, you're not even living your apartment.
Yeah, exactly.
But and back to like Kaz's like original point too, like I feel like but back to Kaz's original point too, like I feel like there's been also a growing frustration in general that like not even like the last couple events, but probably the last like half year to like year, like there's been a very low amount of new released Pokemon in the wild. It's like the majority of them are now being released in like eggs or raids or field research or magnetic lures now, or some combination. And half the time when they're a field research task, the task is like win 3 raids or something, or hatch an egg or hatch 3 eggs or something. So it's like these like very like paywall and limited releases, and like it feels bad from a player perspective just in general, because it just feels a little like grimy and like they're trying to just like take us for all our money. But also it just feels bad, like it feels like it's going against the initial charm of the game. Like the reason we all, at least most of us I think, started playing Go was we liked the idea of like wandering around and catching wild Pokemon in the real world, and it's like that loses its appeal when none of the new Pokemon are actually in the real world and you have to get them from like eggs or raids, right? Like, and all the wild Pokemon are just like repeats that you've already caught.
Yeah, and
like,
eggs.
It's exciting to like have a shadow on your radar and go chase this new Pokemon, but you can't have a shadow on your radar if it's an egg only Pokemon or a raid only Pokemon. Like, I feel like the game is losing a little bit of its initial appeal from that standpoint too.
Yeah. And raids, like, you see a raid and you can go to it. It's a guarantee, right? But like when you lock something behind eggs, like, that's a chance. And we've all seen how like harsh that chance can be, like with something that we really want, like the glaring Corsola, you know? So it's really frustrating to keep like having to figure out like, how do I have to gimmick the crap out of this? Also, like, I thought the way they introduced Fido was actually really cool, like making it the global challenge and giving you kind of bonuses stacked on bonuses. Like, I thought that was really neat, and I think that was something the community actually enjoyed, like working to get access to Fido in the wild and then having it be a fairly, common spawn.
Yeah.
After that,
there was a post from JRE Seawolf, and in general, I tend to like, whenever there's a new event or a new announcement, he tends to be quite negative. And, sometimes that's justified. Sometimes, probably like half the time I look at it and I'm like, man, like, do we really need to be this negative about this smaller thing? Like, come on. But he made a pretty interesting analysis post on Reddit.
He's just constantly negative, yeah.
In some sense. And, I get it. But he made a really interesting post on Reddit recently, like last week maybe, that was sort of looking into the Pokemon that have been released over time through Pokemon Go and the sort of amount that have been sort of in the wild, and sort of like how the trends have gone towards stuff being in eggs or being in raids or being behind paid tickets like Galarian and Mr. Mime or whatever. And so like, I think as much as he sort of talks about that, and you can go find it on Reddit if you want. But the interesting thing to me to think about was the number of new species being added to the game every year. So like to speedrun it, like in 2017, there was 117 new Pokemon, 2018, 119, then 100. And then even 2020, there was 113. And then it started to sort of decrease from there. There were 76 in 2022. There were 56 in 2023. There were only 40 new species in 2024. And part of it, I think, is sort of that thing about the forever game, where like there are only so many Pokemon that they can sort of do new releases for. And so like they can't release 100 Pokemon in a year if there's, they can't sustain that level. There aren't 100 Pokemon added per year. They added a new generation every couple of years, and maybe that's around the 100 mark if lucky. And so it's sort of like they sort of need to reduce the rate that they release Pokemon in the game in order to make this a forever game. But to do that, it means they have to spread them out a little bit more. They still need some sort of revenue source. They need to put some Pokemon like behind raids or behind some sort of ability for them to make money. And so from the Niantic perspective, you sort of have to look at that problem and be like, well, how can we add new monetized content? Because like you can say like, oh man, they've got raids, like, we have to pay money to get legendaries or whatever. But again, there's only so many legendaries. And sort of once you've raided them all, I mean, the money is just going to dry up. So as much as it's obviously bad for the player base, it's obviously bad from a enjoyment of the game perspective. I play the game way less because stuff is behind paywalls and such. Like if something's only in raids, then I'm just going to be like, well, too bad. Whereas if it's in the wild, maybe I actually try and catch a few more. So obviously it's worse from a player perspective, but from a company perspective, it's sort of like, they're sort of in a hole a little bit. And I haven't thought about it, but I don't know off the top of my dome what the best solution is, I guess.
I think the last thing I'll say on this from a general consumer standpoint is, I've said this before too on the podcast, but it's just, you should never regress in terms of like how you approach things. In the sense that previously you had stuff that were wild spawns, right? Previously we had events that were like, triple dust, quadruple dust after Go Fest, like for like a global event, all these things, right? And when you progressively make events worse, people remember that, right? Like it's, in the boxes, we talk about the boxes forever. I kind of given up on the boxes. I haven't even looked at the boxes. I know they're definitely not as good as they used to be, right? Like a couple years ago. And because I still have screenshots of all those. Like I don't, care about your in-game economy. It's a made-up economy, you know? Like, people are not going to spend if the boxes are trash.
Yeah.
Some people will,
Yeah.
right? But like, who cares if people rate a few more whatever's in the raids right now? What, Palkia non-origin form? Like, who cares if people rate a few more of those, right? Like, it's not a big deal. Let them get the raid pass, right? Just like constantly regressing on your practices is not a good practice, in my opinion. Like, you want people to like your company more and more over time. You don't want people to like it, like it less over time, you know?
I think that's the wild Pokemon thing, like, versus, you know, staggering their releases. Obviously, Steve, like you were saying, I understand that they do have to find a balance, but I think that the kind of consistency that they've been doing it with all these events for the past, like, I want to say like 3 to 6 months or so, like every event is structured this way. I think if they staggered it a bit out, like maybe, oh, we get the wild release this one, and then next time we don't, and then we do, and then we don't. Like, I think if they kind of broke it up a little bit so that there wasn't as consistent a letdown, like with each event being that way, it probably wouldn't like be as much of a tea topic as it is in the community, you know?
Right. Yeah, it doesn't feel balanced. Like, Kaz said balance, and I think that's the key thing here. Like, we had Galarian Corsola and eggs, then we had Fido Wild, cool. Then we have, what is this new thingy in the 12k eggs?
Strudel.
Whatever it's called.
Schnoodle.
Yeah. Toaster
like
Strudel.
Strudel in 12k eggs. And then we have Rookity in magnetic lures and 2k eggs. It's like, maybe I'm forgetting our new release, but it's like, of like the last 4 or 5, we've had like one wild release and the rest were like eggs and stuff. Like, it doesn't actually feel balanced. And like, I also like, I definitely can understand what Steve was saying about Niantic needing to release less new Pokemon every year. And like, I'm fine with that. I understand they have to take this like drip feed approach because there's only so many Pokemon that haven't been released yet. But like, I don't know, I would rather see a few less Pokemon released in total each year if a higher percentage of those were wild releases.
Yeah.
Like, instead of releasing 40 Pokemon and like 30 of them are like paywalled, release like 25 Pokemon and only paywall like 10 or something. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's something at least personally I would rather see, but I don't know.
Yeah. All right, we got to move on to YouTube comments because I have to go soon. But that being said, I love how I said, like, we don't know how to cover the topic, but there's a lot to say. All right, so let's start with the comments here. So June Ho says, hey, born and raised in Jersey, stop the hate, Kaz. But yes, both the Giants and Jets still play in MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Technically, the real New York football team is the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's like the only.
True. That's true.
The only New York team. But Buffalo, I didn't realize how far Buffalo is from everywhere else in New York. It's actually kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's so far. Yeah, I didn't realize New York was that big of a state.
People think that New York is like all New York City, but that's
no, it's not. It's not.
So
upstate New York is. Yeah, I have a friend that lives in Buffalo, and she's like, dude, there's like nothing to do there. June also says, I also think my previous comment from a couple videos somehow disappeared, but it was pointing out. Oh, let me just sort by. Yeah, I don't know. I must have missed it somehow. But it was pointing out that Galarian Corsa is still in regular 7-kilometer eggs to go along with the Mateo eggs. It was only out of rotation for the holiday events, but will be regularly in 7-kilometer eggs for the entire season. That's good to know because I have not been incubating it, and I'm still looking for my first Galarian Corsa. Let's see if we can make it happen. Because when I'm at that Go Tour, I'm definitely gonna be asking everyone for Galarian Corsa. David Pebble says, just to spite Steve, Josh, he who must not be named, I'm going to petition so hard to get GoFest/Safari/City for Perth. Hey, Niantic, let's talk. Yo, Debbie, I support you on those endeavors. We gotta cut the Perth slander, man.
It's true.
I don't know.
Debbie, you're a real one.
My question is, does Steve hate on Perth more or does Kaz hate on New Jersey more? I'm not sure yet.
No, because Steve is Josh is consistent like with the Perth slander.
I've got volume.
I had one episode where I talked about the New York, New Jersey
so
feud.
Far. Yeah. Now you know how Steve feels when.
But your slander was like so much higher though. Your slander is so much more intense, though. You know,
I think the common theme between both slander is that neither really are on strong basis of anything. So is what I realized.
It's just. Listen, all I know is that the feud is there, and it's been there longer than I have, and will be longer than I am here.
Let me clarify too. I briefly slandered Buffalo. I've never been there before, so don't come for me if you're from Buffalo. I really don't know. Right?
Caleb's like, I don't intend to slander anybody.
I'm just saying, based on what my really good friend says, because she's there for like a PhD program, she has to be there for like another 5 years. Alessio Pucci says, now that Corviknight is about to step foot into the game, we can easily say goodbye to a few grass Pokemon we had so far. Bye Superior, bye Jump Up, bye Chestnut, you'll be missed. Maybe. I don't know. I think it'll still be around. Just we'll see how meta relevant it'll be, because this is same typing as Skarmory, but it could cut down the usage a little bit if it ends up being really, really good. Yeah. So who is Josh? It's actually even funnier now that we have Josh on the episode and we had no Josh. So who is Josh's comments now like hit even harder in some ways?
When I saw it, I was like, "Hang on, wait, is this like a beta account?"
This might actually be actual Josh, but Anyway, hey, just maybe so Josh changes username to so who is Steve next. Hey, just wanted to start a possible bet for you all. Who can predict the next 10 community days? It doesn't matter what month they are, but most correct wins, and the loser must transfer 50% of all community Pokemon they have in their bag. Example, if you have 2 of the same kind built, you must transfer 1 of them, for example. That's crazy. I'm down, but that's crazy. Okay, how about this?
Pretty intense.
How about this?
What also, if we 10 community days.
But you don't have to get them all correct, right? It's just like you have a great chance of getting some right. If we just predict the next 3, we might all get them wrong, and then like no one wins, right? Or one person that wins, like the person that wins gets like 1 right. I'd be open to it. What if we transfer
be like the rest of the year?
Yeah. What if? Oh, man, that's a long-term bet, honestly, though. The problem is I don't know if the co-host will last that long. I was supposed to box and record so long for that. I did catch
We've already kicked Tristan off of visuals.
I will think about it. 10 is a lot, though, but I do get why Josh is saying this. It's just and 50% is a lot of Pokemon transfer. I'd be down to transfer like 25 to 10%, maybe.
The thing is, like, I have been so cutthroat in getting rid of my community daemons anyway.
Oh, you don't got anything to spare. No,
Steve would be like, I gotta get rid of all of them.
Yeah, I'm running lean.
If you have
I think they're saying you have to
way to do it that doesn't take like
built.
If Josh, if you have a better way to do it outside of like something that might take 10 months, I'm all ears. Yeah. I think it's a funny suggestion though. And again, I would be down for it, but half is a lot. You know, half feels more harsh than me asking someone to transfer one of their Pokemon from their best played Pokemon tournament. But maybe that's just
I am curious. I mean, we have the upcoming Community Day Classic, but like I am curious as to what the next Community Day will be. We just had a starter, so we know it won't be like the next starter. Yeah. It'll be something else.
I don't know. We'll think some things. Again, Josh, feel free to leave a comment on this episode, and if you have any other suggestions.
Who is Josh?
Yeah, who is Josh? So who is Josh? Maybe this is just Steve's burner, you know?
This is the person who stole your phone in Argentina. It's like, who's that?
How many burners does he have? Because he has PvP Josh.
Dude. That's quite the burner too. This YouTube account has been on YouTube for 17 years and has left 23 comments on our channel over the years. So, 1, I appreciate you, Josh, and 2, that's a really good inside job from Steve if that's the case. And then we got a comment from Twastell, aka Tristen, aka the person without a face. Said the 100. The 100, not the 100. The 100 is great. I keep meaning to watch the final season, but haven't gotten around to it. Show did get a bit weird in the penultimate season, but still enjoyed it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows. I agree with that too, Tristan. It did get a little weird, dude. Yeah, Tristan wasn't here last week. Like both of you left me hanging. I'm like, oh, you all seen this great show, The 100, and both of you like, no. I was just like, okay.
I watch almost exclusively cartoons.
It's so good. So. Like the first.
It's definitely not a cartoon. Yeah, it's definitely like it's. I would say it's without a doubt CW's best show of all time. But that's like not a very high mark because a lot of CW shows are kind of crappy, even though I've watched a lot of them. But it's still one of the best ones. I know some people that love Supernatural might argue Supernatural is. I've seen every episode of that, so don't come for me. I know what I'm talking about. All right, and also Tristan says, no wonder Caleb still doesn't have a Galarian Corsa if he's always hatched his 12-kilometer eggs. Look, I didn't think they were in 7-kilometer eggs anymore outside Mateo, and I wasn't trying to see no Mateo anytime soon. And then Tristan says, I think Shadow Palkia will be a side grade or
But you
upgrade
can get
over
an
Shadow
egg and
Kingdra.
check what's in it.
Yeah, but like I don't. But then if it's not in it, then I'm just like, well, what am I going to?
Yeah, you can't delete eggs.
Yeah, I can't delete it. I don't want to hatch this thing either. Yeah. And then just also think someone was telling me that the Palkia is better for color code, for example. So maybe, yeah. I mean, I guess if one of us does it, or someone, a viewer listens to it, let us know. All right. And then there's one other comment. I got this in a DM on Discord, so I'm gonna just read it real quick. And hopefully it's okay. Epi cool guy. If I read it, because yeah, I guess I didn't ask for permission, but hopefully it's okay because I don't think anything here is particularly super sensitive. I said, hello, sorry to message you out of nowhere. I'm a PvPer on the factions team Backstage Battlers with Rambleman, who I think you know, which yes, I sure do. Old local mine. I actually battled him yesterday too. And he beat me. Anyway, Epi Cool Guy says, also thank you for the remembrance for Heart with her terrible passing. We appreciate the call out on your podcast. I'm reaching out for a different purpose, however. I'm curious if you have any kind of data for your podcast on where and how many people listen to it. I live in Billings, Montana, MT, right? Is Montana? Yeah. Sorry, I don't see that abbreviation as often. And we just finally got a local shop to do cups and challenges this month. I'm struggling to get the word out to surrounding Montana communities and also to Wyoming and western North and South Dakota. Everything is spread out in this part of the country, but I'm still hoping that folks will come to our area for these competitions. Do you have any listeners in this part of the country? Is it appropriate to give a shout out in the next episode? Say we schedule them for February 8th, March 8th, and a cup on the 29th. So I assume the first two are challenges and then the last one's a cup. Just looking for a little help to promote this part of the community that doesn't have many of these opportunities. Thanks. Yes.
Well, and the answer is unfortunately no, we can't give you a shout out. But
yeah, Caleb, you were all concerned.
Gosh, check yourself.
Because you were like, oh, I don't know. He didn't give me
we just
permission
don't
to
have
say
enough
this.
time
He's
for your
literally
shout outs
asking
with all
you to
the
say
pet
this.
slander.
Yeah. No, I do appreciate the DM Epicool guy, and yeah. So here's the information. I don't specifically know if we have it pinpointed by like states. I know that we have breakdowns based on the country of origin, but the actual state is harder. But if anyone's listening from Montana, from Wyoming, from North South Dakota, head over.
I can imagine that that's a tough area since, the further west you get, the farther apart everything is. And especially like if you go north, it gets even worse.
I will say, like, if you can, like, try to promote on any, like, local Discords you're in, like, try to put on Campfire too, but, like, I do know that, like,
because a lot of
castles the country, like, where people live, but the only thing
sometimes
is, like,
you just need to promote it to your family members too, you know?
Won't work just because, like, I was gonna say, like, in that area, I think where people live is more spread out. So, like, they're probably trying to get people from a little farther away to come, so those people might miss the campfire. But, like, it can't hurt to promote it in more places. So, like, we're happy to shout it out here. But give Discord a try, give Campfire a try. If you're on Twitter/X, try to promote it there as well, and hopefully you'll get some people. And the big thing too is just trying to, like, get more people aware of the Play Pokemon, like, events map, the event locator, because then, like, if people know about that, they can just, like, look for events near them as well. There's, like, great filters and stuff. So hopefully you can try some different methods and get some more people to come out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, we're gonna have to call it here, but appreciate y'all for listening as always, and maybe next time we'll have Tristan's face on the episode. It looks like Epicool guy is actually responding to my comment right now, so that's cool. He says, "Yeah, thanks, Caleb. Deeply appreciate it." Well, we deeply appreciate you as well for being a fellow listener. And
sorry we couldn't shout it out.
My cousin actually does live in North Dakota, but unfortunately she doesn't play Pokemon Go. Otherwise, I would let her know too. But I think North or South Dakota, I forgot. I think she's in North Dakota, but for some school stuff. So anyway, we'll catch you all next week. Best of luck on your shadow stuff. Make sure you TM stuff. Make sure you do all the stuff that we mentioned, because that's that. And then Niantic, maybe make sure to listen to some of our advice. I don't know.
We have a lot of it.
Thanks for
this
Shadow
episode, I feel
Marowak.
like.
Yeah. Thank you for the Shadow Marowak. Thank you for the Shadow Drapion and the Grimer.
And thank you for the remote raids to Shadow.
And thank you, or maybe not thank you, for the 600 battles next week. That's going to be a long one, but we'll do our best.
That one is a mixed bag. We'll come back with judgment on that.
Yeah. Speaking of mixed bags, let's hope that Kaz has a stronger coffee for next week.
Yeah.
Anyway, catch y'all later. Peace.